if I say I love you, and you learn to say, and so it is, then you are now love. Not loved, love.
Let me tell you a little bit about Michael Mirdad. He's a world-renowned spiritual teacher and healer. He's the author of several books, including You're Not Going Crazy, You're Just Waking Up, Creating Fulfilling Relationships, and Healing the Heart and the Soul. He is our kind of spiritual leader. For more than 30 years, he has transformed the lives of thousands of clients, and he has facilitated thousands of classes, lectures, and workshops throughout the world on mastery, on spirituality, on relationships, and on healing. And he's rightly noted by many, many people and other authors as a teacher's teacher and a healer's healer. He currently serves as the spiritual leader at Unity of Sedona, and he's been there for nearly 5 years. But today he's here with us, bringing us an amazing message, a beautiful heart, and I invite you to join me in welcoming Michael Mirdad.
Thank you very much. It's great to be with you. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the world. I guess there's a lot going on in the world. Yeah, there is. Past, present, future, there's a lot going on. And it becomes heavy to people's minds to have to deal with the stuff of life. And I think it's very important that we deal with it and not run from it, not sweep it under the rug, but to recognize when we recognize a problem, we are already beginning a solution. When we recognize there's a situation, a lot of people get confused by this. They say, well, it's best just to think positively and not really talk about that or think about that. That's not going to actually transform it. I'm not saying we should obsess nor allow things to take our minds into fear. But we can't actually transform anything without first observing it, looking at it, recognizing that there's this, and I'm not just talking about global or national or statewide or citywide crisis, even in our own lives. We've got to make some adjustments. It behooves us to actually look at our lives and imagine this, rate your life. 0 to 10, your health, your finances, your relationships, your work, and see where you rate. Now, a lot of people start getting depressed, but don't worry, I'll go somewhere else before I'm done. I won't leave you with that. But it's worth a try to say, some people don't want to. They want to go, no, everything's great. But you start to get honest with yourself and you realize, I didn't realize that my relationship is a 3 on a 10 scale. I guess I have work to do. Yes, because your life's going to get better when you do the work. It's a drag, I know, to come to mind that you've got something to deal with. But if you don't, it's going to become a 2 and a 1. But even if it stays as a 3, there's bigger problems. The divine mind in us all doesn't allow us to stay at a 3. If you do not learn things the easy way, you will learn them the hard way. And those are the only 2 ways. It's not like there's 5 other options. The 5 lesson languages of God. No. 2. The hard way and the easy way. Which one do you think God always tries first? What do you think humans are addicted to? I'm done. No. You guys seem to have this down really well. Who in their right mind would choose the hard way? And Jesus says in A Course in Miracles, I never said you're in your right mind. Not once am I accusing you people of being sane. You act out with such fear, such separation from God. You can't be separate from God. God is all there is. But to think you're separate from God, it creates an angst inside. And we're not talking a slight angst, like the angst you might get when you're thinking of asking somebody on a date and you feel a little... No, we're talking soul-level angst. When we believe we're separate from God, And God is the source of love, peace, joy, and abundance. If we think we're separate from the source of love, peace, joy, and abundance, how well do you think our days can go? Not very well, obviously. But what it does is it creates such an angst inside. The angst becomes an emptiness. And then we start acting out because we're so desperate. Everything is fear-based. There's no good people and bad people. There's people based on quantity of how much they're in touch with love or fear. Nobody has ever been mean on this planet that wasn't first hurt or angry. And they were never hurt or angry if they weren't first afraid. Afraid of what? That they were not divine. Do I think they consciously are thinking divine, non-divine? No. But that's what's happening. Inside they're saying, something's wrong. The emperor is naked and nobody's calling it. And I don't know what to do. This can be the most, popular name, infamy, people known in infamy like a Hitler, but it can be just anybody in this room. Suffering, struggling with the same issue. Heaven doesn't say, well, this guy's really bad, but you're just a little annoying. It's God only has one message, and we need to understand this. I love you, come home. And really, there's not even a come home because God doesn't recognize us as separate, but in the human mind, you could finish the sentence with, and come home. But there's only one message God ever says, I love you. Well, guess what, God? I'm struggling with this and that. I love you. Thanks for the sentiment. No, but you don't get it. My TV stopped working. And all you got for me is love. How about TV repairman? How about lottery? Can you come through for me, oh Lord? And God's saying, you don't get it. If I say I love you, and you learn to say, and so it is, then you are now love. Not loved, love. And if you are love, you are one with God, and you have all things. You would then miraculously create a TV showing up on your doorstep, if that's what you thought you needed, or whatever it is. The external stuff is just the dressing. We can have all that we need, but seek first the kingdom. Now, we learned over years to think kingdom meant a location. The word kingdom means consciousness. Seek first the consciousness of God, and all things will be added. And we just keep twisting the words, we keep misinterpreting the words. All we need to do, and consistently, is seek first the consciousness of God. When you think you're lacking something, shift back into the consciousness of God. Through treatment, through healing. And all healing, all miracles are founded on shifting our mind from being the mere human fear-based person to more of a divine being. And by becoming mystics, becoming spiritual beings and identifying with our spirituality is not for just the few. It's everybody's destiny. And the only thing that keeps us from accepting that is fear. We're afraid of our light. We're afraid of our power. Mainly because we identify ourselves with being flawed beings. We think we're separate and therefore flawed. And so we go out even in relationship. Even in relationship. Relationship is founded on craziness, which is why it doesn't work. Hi, I'm empty. Nice to meet you. And then the other person's going, hi, I'm false fulfillment. You think we could? Absolutely. Do you feel, do you feel the magic? Who wouldn't? It's already feeling like we're connecting. Of course we are. It's a marriage made in hell. It's a relationship founded on dysfunction. And as soon as you have another person that will substantiate that you're empty, you should run anyway. Because you're not empty. As soon as a person looks like they're going to fill your needs, technically they can't, because you have none. You are perfect and whole in the light of God. The ultimate relationships are the ones that affirm that. Now, it's not to say we won't have challenges. You will have challenges. But when you have challenges, we learn to be more responsible about them. We don't say, hi, the initial dating concept. Wow, you're really amazing. Yo, you are too. And it's accentuating the positives. I wrote a book called Creating Fulfilling Relationships, but the subtitle is Turning Cellmates into Soulmates. Because relationships are all about imprisonment. Is that... We have an amen. It's all about imprisonment. It's, our relationships, partnerships, family, workmates, whomever they are, all of them are going to either mirror karma or the gifts of God. And our relationships are supposed to be mirroring the gifts from God, the gifts of God, instead of karmic relationships. I have issues I won't look at, but, I'm going to just kind of look past that because a lot of my issues are from the past, so let me ignore that. It doesn't work that way because the next cellmate that comes along is going to help you find them. There's not much else in the cell. We're imprisoned together, and all we have is a bunk. There's not a lot. We can't hide things under the rug. There's no rug. And then we get really annoyed when people reveal those things to us. They're not the person I thought they were. No, they're not the person you hoped that they would be. The person that would forever hide you from your stuff. And there is nobody that's capable of that. Not only because if you have stuff, they can't hide you from it because eventually you have to see you. Because wherever you go, there you are. I'm on a roll. All right. But the good news is they can't hide your stuff because believe it or not, you don't even really have stuff. You don't really have emptiness. On earth, it will seem like it. But what's really nice is when our partners can remind us not just of our issues, but of our beauty. And I don't mean enabling your problems, but instead helping you find them. So when we encourage responsibility, what it means is, look, it's like even if you have a partnership today, it's going to sound strange, but one of the best things you could do for that relationship, and if you don't have one, remember this for when you do, and if you've had them in the past, remember this and apply it. Retire everybody from the roles you've created for them. Your children, your parents, everyone. In your heart, if not in person, I want to share this with you. You're saying, I love you. I wish I could have been perfect for you. I wish you could be perfect for me. I would love to have been able to avoid all your issues, my issues. In other words, confession. I really needed you to be there for me on financials or health, or I needed someone to give me support or make me feel loved and lovable. But you know what? I need to retire from that today. I'm your parent and I would love to have protected you from all harm, but I can't. And say to them, if silent or in words, it breaks my heart to admit this, but I can't. I want you to love me, so I've tried to be everything for you, but I can't be everything for you. I would like to try, but I can't. To my children, I'm sorry. It breaks my heart to think that I'm flawed and that I can't be everything, that I might have even taught you things that are dysfunctional. Forgive me. I love you and I'm sorry. Retire everyone. And then be able to come back to the world or to that person or that relationship or that dialogue and be able to say, now the former me has passed away. And now begins a new life, a new world, the new me. The new me is in recovery, is in 12-step program. The new me is learning to be responsible. The new me doesn't go by compulsions of the past. I'm going to get to know myself starting now. And I need to tell you, by the way, I don't even know who that is. All I want you to know is that I'm going to be getting to know me, and it's got to be good. Because God first. I will be working my divinity and the God first element within myself. So I know it's going to be good. It's not like bad news when I say I'm going to get to know myself. But the parts of me that don't seem to resonate with God, those parts, I'm going to work on those. All I can promise you is a person who is focused on love and God and who has issues, but when I do, I will go here to work on them. I will do my best not to dump them on you or project them on you. That's what you're getting. Would you like to walk with me in that relationship? Sometimes they will say no. You dust off and you move forward. And sometimes they will say yes. And that's great, great affirming news. But it doesn't mean it'll always be easy. But it'll be easier than the life that you thought was easy when you just ignored everything. Because that always comes back to haunt us. One of the things that's important to remember, and it's all about the workshop later today, but it's important to understand the purpose to life's tests. There is no accidental relationship. I mean, as much as relations can be dysfunctional, as much as sometimes our hearts are broken, or aside from relationship, just other stuff out there in this world, it's hard stuff. And we talk about it, we struggle with it. We see it on the news, we read it in the papers, and we hear people talk about it. God has nothing to do with the hardships that we experience on earth. And this is very controversial and difficult for people to understand because we want to try to make sense of things. So when we're spiritual, instead of just going, oh my God, look at the difficulties in the world, all we do is attach the word God to it and go, gosh, we don't know why God allows this and God allows. God is like, no habla inglés. I have nothing to, all I ever tell you is I love you. And believe it or not, that's enough to solve everything. And we're like, well, the whole love thing, it's overrated. Because I've been in love several times, and this time it's for real, the new one, So we associate God's love with romantic love, which passes away. God's love does not. We totally do not understand the capital L word love. So we don't know why stuff happens on earth. We just don't understand. So what we do is we assign God and say, well, it must be some important lessons God's trying to teach us, and God has nothing to do with it. God says, only love. I am in the consciousness of God because I am God. I am the consciousness of God, and it's only love. And we start assigning, well, in God there's love and hate. There's love and fear. There's war and peace. There is not. God is not dualistic. God is only and always love, peace, joy, and abundance. God doesn't have bad days. God's not like, oh, I'm just not really in the God thing today. My biorhythms are down. Saturn return. It's a full moon, and even God, have a difficult time. A full moon's, If full moons magnify your moods, imagine what it does to God's moods. And wow, big bad moods, That isn't God. Just imagine. God is bliss. Just a constant state of bliss. And when you have a good day, what you've done is you come from the earth realm and you've come up and arisen enough to feel more bliss, more peace, more joy today. And then you're testifying to each other, wow, I had an amazing, miraculous day. And it came from you. It didn't come from God sending you memos of love. It didn't come from spiritual gifts from the heavens. That's superstition. You are in the state of mind of God or you're not. The further from the mind of God we are, the more we struggle. Right. The problem is we meditate today and then we have a bad day later today and we go, I don't get it, I meditated. Your bad day today didn't come from this morning's treatment, prayer, or meditation. It came from last week's. It came from another lifetime. It came from yesteryears. You don't know when, and don't try to figure it out. All you have to know is that there's a soul inside of us that's wanting to become more of God, which is what it's supposed to be. It's never changed. Our soul is connected to God, but our human self forgot. So what we have is one big, huge experience of amnesia. So we're not really learning, we're remembering. So what is the purpose to life's tests? There's a couple ways to answer that, but one simple part for now. Purpose to life's test is to become more of God. And it isn't God making you. This is not the gods of Olympus, moving chess pieces on the board and your life's going well. And one of the gods says, I don't think so. And the god, Saturn moves you over here, or the god Athena moves you over there. That's not the way it was. That was more of a visual imagery for a people that used that to learn. That's not how it really works. Only your soul exists. And the soul is saying, deeply inside, we are divine beings, and it's time for us to remember our divinity. And then we hear another voice saying, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Wait, who just said that? There is only God. There's another voice we made up. It's not the real us. We made it up. We said, well, what if we were separate from God? What would life be like? And voila, we created a false self, this weak human self that thinks it's separate, then afraid, then acts out, and then we're down here praying that they stop acting out. But in reality, what they need is always only the presence of God. Our job is not just to treat and pray and meditate and try to be blissful. It's also to remember that the people outside that don't act very nice are mirroring to us some of our own lessons. So instead of saying, whether it's in one tradition or another, Buddhist or science of mind or whatever it happens to, it's not about, Lord, fix them. Make them better. Make them be nice. That means that those people are outside of you, which encourages more separation. Instead, you can't pray for other people. You can never give anybody something you don't have. So what you have to do when you see people act out is first, before you affirm their goodness, first own that whatever they're bringing up, there's a lesson for us in that. And if we can own our lessons, we can then surrender those lessons and replace them. But we must be participants. You can't tell God in the heavens to fix people. What you do is you become the solution for them. Because we're one. If there's one person over here that acts out and they've got a lot of problems, we can all collectively pray that they're better, but that means we've already made them bad. What we need to do is say, wow, isn't that funny? That person over there, they act this way and this way and this way. In what does that bring up in me? What does that teach me? See, because there's three relationships you can have. One is with God, one is with self, and one is with others. And the one called others is the least priority. So when you think you go to others for love or others to blame for your problems, you're outside of God and self, which is where our sanity lies. Going outside of ourselves, we lose ourselves and our center. But when we see people act out and we see that and draw that lesson inside and say, what does that bring up in me? I'm already on a journey within. Because I'm talking about what it brings up in me. And that's called responsibility. So I've turned the direction and I've started looking at me and my part. When I do that, I can surrender that part. Then I can go to the next relationship, which is the center of God, center in God. I can center in that love, feel different, and then bring that shift to the outside, including the people that were triggering me. Now instead of seeing good person, me always, and bad people out there, instead we start to recognize lessons. And as I take those lessons within and learn and give them to God and to replace them with love, I've actually become a better person, thanks to your lessons you brought me. Instead of just firing everyone, hating everyone that brings up lessons, learn what you can. Always give thanks for the wonderful people that have been nice to you, but the ones that have been challenging, give thanks for what they brought up in you. Don't hide from it. Don't say, well, it's in the past, because it's never, because there is no time. It's here now. Even anytime you see someone and they remind you of the look of someone, it means there's some healing that needs to be done. I got on a plane last night to come here, and 3 people, not one, 3, as I was sitting and people were walking by to get their seats, I went, that looks like, and then, oh no, that looks like, there's 2 of them on the plane. Then a 3rd one, I'm like, oh my God. But the only solution is, why would I see 3 people that look like someone I've known? There's only one answer, really. It's got 2 parts. It could be that person was very kind and loving, and I need to absorb and get some more of that love from that person that I remember, or lessons. There might be some unhealed residual stuff. I see it. I own it. It was right here. How else could it be here? People in 3 without something meaning to it. I get it. Thank you. Give that to God, replace it with absolute love, and send that love to that person wherever they are. Turn everything around. The human ego does not know what to do with people like that. I'm going to mess you up. I'm going to make you think about people you like. Excellent. Wow. Okay, I don't like that. I'm gonna mess you up. I'm gonna make you think about or experience memories of people that have hurt you. Bring it on. Bring it on. Oh, that's great. Wow, I forgot about that yucky experience. You bring it in, you go, what can I learn from that? Oh, that's right. I need to start having greater self-worth. Thank you for showing me the memory of that person that treated me like I had no self-worth. I got it now. More self-worth. And so it is. And the ego's like, what in the heck? I don't like you. You know, and that's fine. I know other people you can hang out with that. No, I'm kidding. So all of this, the whole experience, is a journey without distance to a place we never left. All the stuff we think is life experiences begins and ends in one place, our center. At the end of the day, we start to realize we're just remembering our divinity. So how much do I want to fight it? How much do I want to just try to pseudo-fix it? And relationships are at the top of the list. Because in our relationships, we experience a mirror. A mirror. Relationships and the world is a mirror of how we're doing inside. And I'm not saying relationships like intimate partnerships are worthless or bad. I'm saying that that's how people experience them because they don't bring the depths to the experience. You don't want the heights of relationship. You don't want we think we want the honeymoon phase only. I want stimulation. I want someone to make me feel I'm young or beautiful or handsome or worthwhile or valuable. That's not the reason to have a partnership. You can hire people to tell you that stuff. You know, strokemyego.com. There's got to be one out there. New dating site probably now. But that's not what we need to be looking for. Imagine we drop all that and we find authenticity. So as I'm coming to a close, there's an interesting passage in the Bible that says, the Lord watches my coming in and my going out. What this means is that our job, there's three relationships, God, self, and others. The God relationship is deep within our center back here. Self is the next relationship. That's me. Right here. And then there's others, which is right there, all of you folks, or people on the planet. The Lord watches my coming in and my going out means that when I have love or hate in my relations with others, the Lord helps and encourages me and guides me to go within, because it says the Lord watches my coming in and my going out. So this means that I'm going to let God guide me going within, which is the next relationship, not others, but who? Self. So I'm going to take whatever I think you give me. You make me feel so wonderful, or you make me feel yucky. I'm going to go into myself and find out what that's about. I'm going to thank you for the good you give me instead of making you the person of value to me. You are valuable, thank you. But I also have to soak in what you make me feel. Instead of going, you're so creative, I wish I were more like you, but alas, I am not. I'm supposed to soak in all the good I see in others. So I take the good and take it into me, or the wicked. And I take it in here and say, what's that about? What am I learning from this relationship that others are teaching me? I look at me. It's like some of your steps in 12-step work. You go here and start looking at this person. Then, because I see what you're triggering. You've left me today. I'm so mad. I've got friends and counselors saying, that was wrong that you left me, betrayed me, abandoned me. But what God wants us to do is go in and find out why we even have that on our radar. Why we even feel so unlovable that this keeps happening. In other words, you can keep talking about the symptoms of what others do, but when do you want to look at the pattern behind it? And the pattern's right here. It's disgusting. I've had 5 people betray me. 5? Yes, 5. Who do you think was there for all 5 of them? Well, clearly all those bad people. No, actually, I was there each time. Wow. It's not easy, guys. That's why the Gospel of Thomas, there's a phrase that I'll just paraphrase here, but Jesus says, more or less, when you get on this journey, you think Jesus is going to say, when you get on the journey to light, towards God, you're going to find bliss and joy and happiness. And instead, he says, when you get on this journey, you're going to be disturbed. That's, wow, what kind of motivational speaker is this guy? You're going to get on this journey and everything will go to hell in a handbasket. You know, nice. But that's what he says. You're going to find the false, ugly, broken, wounded self. But on the other side of that, when you have the courageous journey to go in from others to self, there's one more relationship waiting, and that's how you find your divinity. You have to look at the part of you that's not so divine to find the part that is. Don't obsess on the part that's not. Like there are doors over there. If I urgently needed to leave this room, I need to go for that door. When there's nothing else but God, go to God. Don't get distracted in the other stuff. But if something's in my way between here and that door, like an object, I might have to step over that. So only deal with the stuff that's in your face on your journey. You don't have to go and try to make yourself have extra flaws or obsess on them, but work on what's in front of you. Keep working on what's in front. But your journey is not about the stuff you run into. It's those doors. God, only God first. Seek first that kingdom. So the next and final step is the God relationship. And in the God relationship, we bask in bliss. We go like an oasis and we fill up. You don't just do healing work if you're on a counselor's chair, or a body worker's table or whatever. You don't go and just spew out stuff. Don't ever go and do breath work just to bring up stuff, because that's going in and it's great work. But what about the next step? If you don't refill that which came out with that which you want in, the old will just come back again. So always refill with God. God, I just spewed out my mother, my ex-wife, my 5 ex-partners, my whatever, all that stuff that you cry and you vomit out. What would you like now? Nothing. No, God. Love, peace, joy. Sit there and bask. Now I replace it. Love and self-worth. Love and self-worth. Yes, and just breathe it over and over. Great time to do visualization because you're centered in God. That's why the Lord watches my coming in. But then it also says, and my going out. So what happens is I come in and I center in God. Then within me, I now say, what have I learned from this? How can I have new boundaries? How can I have better communication skills? You don't do that coming in. You let go away the stuff you want to get rid of on the coming in. Coming out, God be with me. Guide me in all things that I do. Guide me in my decisions and boundaries and healthiness, parenting, everything. And then how I deal with others. Human beings never go on that journey. They stay right here, related to others. Others trigger them. Others flatter them. And all they do is stay in that relationship of stimulation. And you'll never grow while in that state. You grow when you turn and you walk through the dark images of yourself and talk about them and journal them and sponsor them and so on. Inside. Go and find and connect with God. I don't mean somewhere outside. I'm saying it's within. We go and we find God and then we say, this is so amazing. Now, God, be with me while I come forward back into the communications with others and the work I do. This person just said something really rude. We go inside, we connect with God, and we try to respond as much as possible from that new place. Not from the outer triggered place in me. Yogananda said, it's not so much that people cause you wounds as much as they rub up against them, and you wince when they do. And wincing, means saying rude things and reacting. That's what it means. He's being nice about it, but that's what it means. So look at the difference as we're closing, guys. Take it with you. Look at the difference. It's experiential. It's real. It's thorough. That's why Jesus could say things like, when you see me, you see the Father. There is no part of me that isn't integrated and aligned with divinity. And we're all supposed to be able to say that. We're going to have moments and we're going to react. But as soon as you can, even if it's at the end of the day, re-experience it and reprogram it. Look at self and say, how did I do that? And how could I have done that a little better? And visualize it happening differently so you can program into your mind different reactions and potentials. Ernest Holmes explained some of this in such perfect ways, in ways that he even said that people would misunderstand his work. He basically said that the name Christ, that some of us abhor because of religious stuff, but the name Christ means the name of God in mankind. So it is right to say that we're awakening the inner Christ because it means God's presence in me. And he also explains, so many other wonderful things. obviously. But he's explained like his whole work was called the science of mind, right? But because in that time, science meant fact, truth, reality. So when he said the science of mind, he really meant the truth of the soul, the spiritual truth. Those days it fit. But what happens later is people think science and mind, intellect. So we're all going to hang out and be thinkers. That's not what he was saying. And Buddha said, have the Buddha mind. People went, mind must be intellect. The word mind and heart, roughly the same in his language. It meant be heart-minded, heart-filled, not mind-filled. Mindful meant heartful. So just a little deviation in interpretation and we can mess everything up. We are being asked to be the presence of God because we are the presence of God. Everybody can react. Everybody can get depressed. Everybody can get hurt and saddened by life's events. Sorry to say it, but we are supposed to be different. We're supposed to be saying, let everybody else do as they may, but as for me and mine, we will serve the living God. You can have your down days, then say it. Hey, God, not today. Don't call on me for miracles. Don't ask me to be doing treatments. I'm ticked off. I'm depressed. Let me have my bad day or whatever. God's like, hey, hang out. Do what you want. You're allowed to have those, but please remember the responsibility, the loving, beautiful responsibility that comes with being the one who can make a difference at work today. The one that can make a difference in that conversation. I don't mean you have to fly in with a superhero emblem on your shirt, and try to be better than everyone. Sometimes it's a smile. Sometimes it's presence. Presence. There are people in this service that aren't as much listening to what I'm saying as much as they're holding presence while I say it. So sometimes you're silently anchoring the presence of the vibration, the light of God in this world and in this moment. But whether it's your smile, whether it's your handshake, whether it's your words, always, God, what would you have me do today? It's a humility. The prayer of the divine feminine is not about females taking over the world. The prayer of the divine feminine is all of us to learn to say, here I am. The Christ metaphor, baby Jesus, the Christ can never be born but through a woman. And what that metaphor means is, for any of us to birth our divinity, we have to first access our femininity. And our femininity means our divine feminine. And I know sometimes guys have a hard time with, what is he talking about? We have to be feminine. I'm talking about accessing the divine feminine, which means the part of us that is humble and says, here I am, God. What would you have me do today? As opposed to, I already got it. That's the masculine. If this made sense, great. Soak it in, love it. If you didn't like something I said or anything I said, be responsible and look at it inside. That's what, you can get away with that in Sedona. You can say, well, I was just channeling that one. Please take a few centering breaths. Few centering breaths. I've been talking for several minutes. Now it's time for you to do so in a certain way. Don't just listen to a person speaking. Right now, absorb what made sense to you. You have to own it. Whatever you didn't like or didn't connect with, you let it go. But what did you hear that made sense? Absorb it and let it take you to higher truth. It's just an act. It's a stage to be here talking. We still have to be different when we leave this room, or else we are hypocrites. So I share, I talk, I play, but now it's up to you, between you and the divinity inside. What did we learn today? What did we hear? And absorb it. Be responsible. Let it take you to a new level as a parent, as a partner, as a friend. And the more you connect with that divinity responsibly, the more you'll see this mirrored in your life. You are never alone. The word alone is just to be broken up different into all one. You're never alone. You are not flawed. You can't be flawed. I'm very, very sorry that people have been hurtful to you for whatever reasons. Forgive them, they know not what they do, means they have forgotten their divinity. So don't be like them. Remember your divinity. The spiritual path takes courage. Look at the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. It takes courage to be something in this world that doesn't want it. But the part of this world that doesn't want that light is not the divine. So we don't care. We don't care that there's an ego part of the world that doesn't want equality and beauty and love and joy and abundance for all. We don't care about that. What we care about is the kingdom of God here and now. So we choose to be that kingdom. Breathe that into reality. And Reverend Patty will take this into a treatment.
And allow us in this moment of eternal grace, the moment where we are one with all there is, and all there is good. It is God manifesting as I breathe in this truth, knowing that God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent, holoeographic, meaning the same in each and every part. And as God is all there is, then I am one with that allness. And it matters not the color of the day my journey finds me. It matters not the circumstances or what the world calls truth. It matters not. What matters is I, within me, within the very glorious soul self of me, am one with God. And I move like a gigantic, magnificent ocean into the presence of God and back, fortified, renewed, and ready for the world. For the world is God's great glory. And I am the child most beloved. And as all that there is all that I am, I now step in to the truth of me, that I have this. Spirit and I are one. And it is good and very good. And I am so grateful for this moment. I am so grateful for the beauty of the message. I am so grateful for the truth of reality that runs and courses through this sanctuary, this place of love and well-being that we call CSLDallas. And it too is good and very good, no matter how it is. I am so grateful for our studies and the belief that we hold and the knowing that we are in fact and reality one. And as I listen to the one hears me and I hear the one, and it is good. And so now I speak my word into the law and know that it is good, and know that it is God, and know that it is done. And so I say, and so it is.